You both mentioned the prospects, so we're going to switch gears to that. The Mets have 4 players in Baseball Prospectus midseason top 50 list in Jonah Tong, Carson Benj, Nolan McLean, and Jet Williams. Keith, I'll come to you first. I don't know if you mentioned this already or if it was David, I can't remember, but should the Mets be willing to part ways with their top prospects for a win now player?
I believe so. I think you just coming off a draft the last few days, you've got a new influx of talent. I think I like where the Mets are as far as who they're bringing in at the draft. So you try to restock. And the two names that you mentioned that are big there, Jonah Tong, who was just the Futures game, and then Nolan McLean, who's been at AAA for the last few weeks. As the Mets have needed some starting pitching help at the major league level, everybody in the world is wondering, why aren't you bringing up a young player? Last year, they brought up Christian Scott 5 starts in. And the thing that I have not heard yet, and I'm not making a claim here, but one of the reasons why we're maybe not seeing these guys move up, and you can actually put now the hitters into that category too, is because if they are dominating a level and they're crushing it there, go look at their numbers. And all of a sudden you take those numbers to another team and say, look at how well Jet Williams is hitting at AA. Look at how well Nolan McLean's pitching at AAA. Their trade value is sky high when they are pitching and playing this well. So yes, I mean, I'm where the Mets are position player wise. They have so many infielders that we've already seen. They don't have enough room for them right now. Their outfield has Juan Soto in right field, Nimmo in left field for a long time. Starting pitching, again, if you don't go out and trade for new people, you can ship out guys like Tong and McLean and Sproat to bring in that exact need. So it's 1-for-1 there. So yeah, I mean, in a year like this, fire away. If that's what it takes with so many teams, at the marketplace trying to make a deal, if that's what gets you over the edge, some good numbers, do it.
Okay. Keith's giving them the green light. David, what do you think? Should they part ways with their top prospects for a win now player?
Yeah, I mean, Keith made some really good points there. Obviously, you are always restocking the farm system. Nobody is guaranteed. You never know what can happen. I mentioned PCA earlier. Has he won in a million? No, but I mean, to see somebody blossom like that, the Mets certainly didn't think that was a couple administrations ago. So the Mets weren't so sure that was going to be the case. It's easy to fall in love with prospects. They get so much exposure now. Everything they do is highlighted. We know all their stats. You mentioned the top 4 there. I just saw 2 of them at the Futures game in Jonah Tong and Carson Benj. Tong, I really have to say is a pretty interesting kid. I can say, he's still pretty young. Huge, engaging personality. His inventive pitching style, looks like Tim Lincecum in his delivery. Has really made huge strides. If he came to New York, this kid would be a huge star. I think if the talent transferred as it did, he still has another level to go. So again, like I said, it's easy to really get enamored of these guys once you see them on a more regular basis. So it's tough to say. But David Stearns is far more clinical in that regard, and we'll look to see what he can get. And he has to make the evaluation. I mean, where do these guys' ceilings go? Like Keith said, when you're at a certain level in the minors, and these numbers, are looking amazing, you move them up, they may tend to flatten out a little. So I think they're in a good spot now with the way some of these guys are performing. Benj has done pretty well since he just got moved up. So I think they do have some value from other teams. Again, personally, after dealing with Tong, I hope he does make it to Queens at some point because it'd be great to have in the clubhouse. That aside, the Mets want to win a World Series this year. So I think they have to do what's necessary to make that happen.
I agree with both of you. Speaking of guys making strides, Ronny Mauricio and Brett Baty have both shown flashes as potential contributors for the Mets, but they also have both struggled with consistency. Keith, how are Mauricio and Baty viewed within the Mets organization? Are they seen as long-term pieces to this team?
I think let's jump on Ronny Mauricio first. We have only scraped the surface with Mauricio's ability at the major league level. Carlos Mendoza keeps using the word patience with him, even when he hits a ball 456 feet in Colorado in right center field, or balls off the wall in left field in Colorado. He will be the best of the prospect core that he came up with. Alvarez, Baty, Vientos, Ronnie's the whole thing. So I think you have to keep him, no doubt. We've seen a lot of what Brett Baty can do. We've seen a lot of him. I don't know if we've seen him at his best yet, but we're starting to see flashes of it. It takes guys longer than it takes others. Some guys are Pico Armstrong in year 2. Other guys are Brett Baty in year 4 or 5 that you're going, okay, is he going to find that former top hitting prospect potential? So with Baty, I think there's a lot of value to him still. He's been versatile in the infield, playing second base and third base. He's had clutch hits. There's no doubt, though, when you get past about 5 or 6 in the lineup for the Mets, there's a major fall off. You're hoping that one of the young players like Baty and Mauricio has a big swing. I mean, Ronny had a big double the other day in Kansas City to help tie the game late. Those are the kind of things that you want. Eventually, with more of those comes more consistency. And I think that the way the Mets have handled their young guys, not put a lot on their plate, which is sometimes annoying for fans to watch and say, I wish there were better players in these spots, but we've seen it at flashes. Now you just have to wait for that consistency to start to level out.
Yeah, for sure. David, how are Mauricio and Baty viewed around the league? Do they have any trade value?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I mean, these guys are people that have been asked about plenty of times in the past. I don't think they've really done any, certainly haven't done a ton to hurt their value. And I think, as Keith touched on, I mean, Baty, he's had a rough go of it in New York. Just kind of the maturation process has been a little bit slower for him development-wise up here. I think if he went somewhere else, I think he'd really thrive. Not to say that he's crumbled under the pressure here, but there's been a lot of weight on his shoulders. The exposure here is real. The pressure here is real. And I think that has hurt him at times. I think he's moved a little bit beyond that. So I think that other teams certainly view him as a guy that'd be a contributor. Mauricio is the real deal, as Keith mentioned. I mean, one other thing I'll add to what Keith said, I mean, his arm is unreal. To add that to the package too, we've seen some of the throws he's made at third base, and the exit velocity, his ability to barrel up pitches is crazy too. So that he is a very high valued prospect. Again, a guy that can play other positions. So that there'll be plenty of interest in those guys that want somebody to make an impact at the major league level right away.
Yeah, it just seems like it comes down to consistency for that core.